15 years. Parents lived there 22 years, so I love coming to Idaho. I actually came up here quite a bit because my sister works over at the meadery, Gina Hill.
Oh, Gina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gina.
I worked for 2 years.
She's married to Cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not full sister. She was kind of a foster sister. Lived with us for about 4 or 5 years, but still really close to her. So it's good to come up here. And then I don't know if you know Lichtenbergs. Jeff Lichtenberg, Lauren, they have like 5 girls, so it's good friends with them. But yeah, anyway, it's good to be up here. This is basically, right, a lot of this is in those e-learning modules. That link was sent out. Bass, did you get that link, that e-learning link where people can go on, create their own login and password, and they can view like short 3-5 minute videos on all this stuff? If not, Lara's got it as well. I think I emailed both of you on that. So
I'll double check that.
There's one link where you can create a login and password for each one of your EMTs or medics, and you can actually follow as an administrator, where you put Chief Auerbach in charge of that. You can actually go through and see who's actually viewing all the videos of everything. So I know we're doing this video, but there's also some very short, like 3-4 minute videos that actually shows the button pushes, just in case they can't see exactly what's going on here. So that's all free, or there's just a generic link that doesn't require a login and password. And the reason we do that is some people don't even like to go to those steps, right? They just want to click on some and watch. So they click on that link, then they can just click on videos that they want to watch, get refreshed on. So all that stuff's available. Do you want me to stand?
No, just do whatever you'd like to do. I mean, if we can use that machine when we're demoing stuff, that will help. But or just a machine kind of in that location would be convenient.
So maybe, I know we don't have tables, but maybe what we could do is if we can get 6, 4, 6, 8, 10, we got 3 monitors. So if we did like 3-ish per monitor, and we could just put it on a chair, right? Flip a chair, put it in the middle, or we could do that as well. Then that will just give you guys the ability to actually follow through kind of what I'm going through and make that easy. So just do that real quick.
While we're doing this, Nate, the videos, are they in addition to what you're doing here, or is you're going to attempt to go through everything?
So they're in addition. So they're professionally done. It's free e-learning that we have, and Lara and I'll resend it to Bass. Have the links for that, so you guys can choose, or I guess Lara or Bass can choose which one they want to do.
Okay. We won't be tracking this,
but there'll be additional in the videos.
There'll be additional. So even though, so that's important because people will get overwhelmed right at the beginning with everything they have to learn. So just tell them at their leisure they can go back and click on these videos and watch them over and over. I mean, they never expire. So
thank you.
Yeah, as much as you want. So this we put one over here as well, and then we'll have.
And we can put just one up there, maybe.
And then we can put one in the middle. So this is going to be a little different, maybe on some of the button pushes, but I'll walk you through because we haven't configured these yet for what you guys want. But please be vocal as they go through this and tell me what you do want. And I'll write that down on the board, because then what that will do.
Okay, all going out here. Pong.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what
Would that be easiest to group up in 3s?
Sure.
And then I'll stay here.
Table there, bud. And I like you instructing. Sure. How about we're going to sit over there?
I'll jump on it.
I'll scoot over here.
Make it tight.
You with us? Or
I'm
you
sitting in the back.
I'm moving here. Through here?
We won't talk about it all for you. Awesome. I'm sure you've had enough of that. So guys, what we'll do is we'll just start with a basic vitals call, right? Because vitals calls are typically what percentage of your calls? 75, right, to 85%. The beautiful thing about this monitor now is when you turn it on, right, you can then focus on the patient and just use the monitor as a tool. When you put the limb leads on the patient, it automatically defaults to lead 2 from pads automatically. You don't have to push any buttons, right? It'll automatically take an SpO2 rate, a heart rate, and a respiratory rate without you doing anything. It just automatically records that in the background, okay? The only button that you really have, there's 2 buttons you have to push, right, to do a vitals call, is 1, turn it on, and 2, hit the blood pressure button, okay? That's the only one that doesn't automatically record, okay? And guess which button that is, if you take a look at the front there.
The one with the bicep?
Right, one bicep and a cuff on it. So we make that super easy, right? So even though there's going to be a lot of stuff that I go through and I talk about, just remember, for 75% of your calls, turning it on, everything's just being automatically recorded. And the reason it boots up in pads automatically is because it's always going to take worst case scenario, right? So cardiac arrest, boom, you're hitting it on, you're going right into the patient, no pulse, no breath, no response, cut the shirt, place the pads on. And you guys will see, I'll pass this around, right? The pads are ready to go. So this is plugged in your adapter, okay? And there's only one way that it can go, right? It's plugged in it's plugged in the adapter in the bag, so that when you're going out to the patient, right, it's ready to go. When you tear it open, okay, when you rip it open, everything is all inside, just like this. So do you guys go A&A for your cardiac arrest, or do you guys go A&P?
A&A.
A&A, okay? So it can go A&A or it can go A&P. So either way, okay? A&A, A or P. This is connected to the pad. Did you guys use these on your E-Series?
Yes.
Okay, so you
For
know
adults.
for adults.
Right.
Okay, so you know they're perforated right here, right? So it's a quick tear. We always recommend that you tear and then just place it right on the sternum, right above the xiphoid, right on the sternum. First compression, boom, everything's going to pop up on your monitor automatically. Okay. So again, cardiac arrest, I'm turning it on. Vitals call, I'm turning it on, and I hit the blood pressure button. And then we'll talk about how to change it to auto blood pressures. Okay. There's also a new software in here. It's voice activation. So it recognizes 2 words, monitor on. So if someone wants to go ahead and just whisper the speakers right here, just whisper monitor on, it'll kick on, and then we'll get started.
Monitor on. When I do that to my phone, it'll laugh at me.
So there's only one way to turn it on, right?
checking.
That's the green button. That's the green button. There's only one way, all right?
It's shocked that you can have it do that, right? With your voice.
That's our new software upgrade that's coming. Okay? That's a new software upgrade. Okay, so go ahead and turn it on.
That's good. Don't you?
Green button.
Shock. Well played.
You guys, that's my experience. You guys are going to see 3 lights, right? The green one, the first one here, that's going to highlight green when you're sending information. So you're sending a 12 lead, you're sending a case up to the cloud, and then it's getting imported into your patient care reporting system. And you guys,
That's right along with the on-monitor thing, isn't it?
you guys, so that is true. So that is true. What patient care reporting system, because we work with all of them, are you guys?
Image Trends,
Image Trend.
Idaho State version,
Okay.
which is crippled.
Okay. So, right, they have an Image Trend Elite program,
We're
which you
going
have to
with
pay for. Okay.
That's what we're transitioning to.
Okay. So that works great. So we have 85% market share in Utah, and all of them have Image Trend Elite. It will import the case, the vitals, the 12 leads, all that information right into your patient care report, and then you'll click on EKG vitals, right? You'll hit Zoll Cloud. The monitors will pop up on the right hand, or they'll actually pop up on your screen. You'll select your monitor because you can actually change the serial number in Image Trend Elite to match engine 31 or engine 32, right? So you'll know it's sent from your monitor because it'll say engine 32, and if you're on engine 32, you hit that, and then it'll have date, duration of the call, and the time of the call. So there'll be 3 things that you can recognize on there. Oh, that's the call I want, right? You've already created a new incident in Image Trend Elite. You hit the button, and then boom, all that information imports into your report. So that'll make that really easy. Okay.
So does that directly through Image Trend, not through the state?
So the state version right now, right, the cheap, well, the free version,
We're going to Elite.
is one where you have to use a USB stick to upload the information into it. But Image Train Elite, the one you're going to, will automatically just import it from, as long as you're connected to where so for Wi-Fi, let me ask you guys, for Wi-Fi, are you guys using just like the personal hotspot off of like a tablet?
That's what we will be doing, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
we haven't up till now, but that's the plan.
That's fine. So that's great, right? You can use the personal hotspot on your tablet that already has your image trend reporting on it. You can use a MiFi jetpack, okay? You can even use a personal hotspot on your iPhone or your smartphone, right? It has built-in Wi-Fi, so it'll link up with any of those. We also have the Zoll version, which is a blue multi-tech modem, right? That plugs right into the USB port on your X-Series, but it's dedicated, right? So it's dedicated just to the monitor. You can't hook up your tablet or other things to it. So that's kind of where, if you're just starting off, the personal hotspot's actually a really good option, because as long as that's on, right, the X-Series will see it, okay? It'll light up green right up here at the top. You see it looks like a dandelion right now on that little icon, right? That'll turn to green bars, right? And then when you send information, okay, this green light lights up anytime you're sending information. The other light, that was a long version of what the lights were, but that was a good caveat right there. So the yellow one is all your low-level alarms. So that's like, I don't know if maybe Steve did it a couple of times. You took the probe off his finger, you saw the yellow one come up, right? The yellow light on the X-Series. That's a low-level alarm. So SpO2 sensor fell off, or paper's getting low, or battery's getting low, right? Those are low-level alarms. And then the last one is the red one on the far right. Those are LTAs, or life-threatening alarms. Patient's blood pressure's bottoming out, heart rate's bottoming out, VFib came across, okay? Those things the X-Series will recognize and light up, and it will actually tell you on the screen. It will flash and say, blood pressure extremely low, alarms like that. And you guys can obviously silence those so the patient's not getting nervous while those are going off. And I'll show you which button that is. But the lights are important because those may go off as we go through these scenarios. And I want you guys to be able to recognize those. Okay. So again, yellow, low-level alarms, green, sending information, and then red, life-threatening alarms. Cool? Okay.
One quick thing on the Wi-Fi before you move off. Does it cache info locally and then reconnect when you get back? Just in case of when we do like the Wi-Fi mobile hotspot in our ambulance and we're in the high school, let's say, quite a distance away.
And there's not a good connection.
Yeah. Does it cache and then reconnect later, or is that for that call you're just not going to have the sending capability?
So if you want to double check to make sure that it went like the 12 lead, okay, once you get into an area where you do have service, I'll show you how you can look at that 12 lead, and if it has a yellow exclamation mark on it, that means it didn't go. Okay. But if it has a blue with arrows, right, that means good. So blue is good, yellow exclamation mark is like, no, it didn't go. And then you have to just resend it, which is actually real simple to do.
Okay.
Anything in the third ambulance to accommodate that?
No.
So good. So pick somebody in your group, right? We'll treat them as the patient, okay? And what I want you to do is just open the bag. All of your BLS stuff is all in one side, okay? So your SpO2, your NIBP, your end-tidal CO2, and your EKG, all on one side, okay? All of your ALS stuff
So you're doing that.
is over on the right-hand side. And what I want you guys to see, right, as you put on, and don't hit the blood pressure yet, okay? You can put the cuff on, but don't do that yet. Put on the SpO2, because I want you guys just to see, okay, how the flex wave's just going to pop up, right, with your SpO2 number, okay? And we can set the X-Series, I think they come out of the manufacturing plant, set for 3 minutes to automatically take a heart rate, an SpO2, and a respiratory rate. Okay?
Oh, sorry.
And they also come out of the manufacturer plant with the respiratory off. So let me tell you how that works. Okay? So you guys all have the magic number that you probably use for a respiratory rate, right? 17, right?
60.
the magic number, right? Well, now, the nice thing about the X-Series is if the patient's sitting still, right? Martin's my ideal patient, sitting still. When you hook up the limb leads on the patient, the limb leads measure pneumatic impedance. So it'll actually measure off of the EKG a respiratory rate, and it'll give you an accurate number. So now you actually have a number, but it's also being automatically recorded. So don't feel like you have to like duplicate your efforts, okay? And I'll show you that as we go through on the X-Series, because all that information is going to be imported automatically into image training leads. So there's no reason to like duplicate and put it in your tablet, you know, as you're talking to the patient's family, that type of thing, right? So sideline that for just a second, right? When you put the limb leads on, right, it's going to give you a respiratory rate. Now, when you start driving down the road, okay, and those leads are bouncing and you're getting a little bit of artifact, that respiratory rate is going to go all over the place. So the gold standard is still end-tidal CO2, right? If you're doing nasal cannula and you're trying to get a respiratory rate, your breaths per minute will pop up along with your end-tidal CO2 number, okay? But just know, right, if they're sitting still, it's an accurate respiratory number, okay? So that's being automatically recorded. Your heart rate is going to pop up in green, I think out of the manufacturing plant, right? Here, SpO2 is yellow, and then you can see down here below, we've got your carbon monoxide also yellow. Are you guys okay if we change that to red?
Yes.
For carbon monoxide. Is that good? Okay, so then that's going to be very distinguishable, right? You'll see that number, and then of course, you know, 0 to 5 is normal. 5 to 10 is typically a firefighter or someone who lives in a home with a smoker, and then 10 and above is kind of where we get concerned, right?
What was the consensus on the bar on the right? It seemed like there was a little debate about
Yeah,
that earlier.
I think he's getting confused with because he actually came from physio control before he worked for Massimo. So there's a little confusion. Plus, and then you've got Zoll coming in right now, so now he's working with 2 different monitors. So ours is that's just a pleth wave. If you'll notice the pleth wave coming across, it coincides with that bar going up and down.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's just a heart rate. It's a fancy little insignia for heart rate. But we can change these colors, right, to anything that you guys are used to. In fact, one of the things I like to do is if you're used to looking at the E-Series and seeing certain colors, the E-Series was kind of like a blend of only like 3 colors, right? Black and green.
Yeah. Black and green.
So in that case, it's not going to really matter, right? So we'll kind of keep it as is, but I'll change the carbon monoxide to red, okay? So let's see, heart rate, respiratory rate. So NIBP. So if you guys look in here,
We got it on.
okay. So if you look at your cord, right, it's dual lumen. So it's actually it's a really cool technology. You were there when I was doing the demo, right? So if you're going down, for people who hate getting their blood pressure taken, a nice thing about the smart cuff technology is it will actually tighten up and then release and try to catch it on inflation. Because one hose is always listening and one hose is inflating or deflating. And so it's always trying to catch the blood pressure as fast as it can. So if you can't catch it as it tightens up and releases, right, which is really nice for those people who hate getting their blood pressure taken, then it'll do the traditional method where it will tighten up and then it'll start to slowly release and get a blood pressure. If you're on a transport and it's a bumpy road, okay, if you hook on the limb leads real quick, right, just lift up their sleeves on the inside of their forearms and then inside of their calves, right, then it will sync up with the R wave on the QRS complex off the EKG. It will filter out all that artifact and get you a blood pressure typically under 10 seconds. So the nice thing about this technology is it pulls as much information as it can, whether it's pulled from the EKG, but you have to obviously have the limb leads on. So if you can, right, and you're having a hard time because this patient's just doesn't have very good blood pressure or it's just a bumpy transfer, then hook up those limb leads real quick, okay? It automatically defaults to lead 2 when you do that. And I'll show you that on mine.
So will it just give you a blood pressure at that point? Like you don't have to hit anything separate to get a blood pressure at that point? It'll just be one of the displays?
So that you have to push the blood pressure button. But yes, it will start to pull as much information as it can based on what we're getting it. So if you don't put on the limb leads, that's okay.
But if you put the limb leads on,
And
you
no-
have the blood and no cuff, or if you have the cuff on and you put the limb leads on, if it like detects a bunch of artifact in your cuff, is it gonna go to the limb leads to get a more accurate blood pressure?
Right. It's gonna pull the information that it has, and it's gonna say, based on what I can see, right off the EKG and off of this patient's, off the cuff, this is the blood pressure. Then your systolic, your diastolic will pop up, and then your mean arterial pressure will pop up. If all three of those things, it's just, you know, the patient's all over the place, the road's just really bumpy, and or maybe they're so sick that it's just, you're gonna have to go do a manual blood pressure, then at that point, if it can't get a very good accurate reading, you'll see a star next to the mean arterial pressure, and it'll just say, hey, based on what I have, this is my best guess.
Gotcha.
And typically you don't see that, right?
120/80?
Usually it will give.
We just thought that.
But in that case, maybe if you see a star, right, just do a manual, just to double check them. Because sometimes, you know, those blood pressure cuffs you can't read it. Oh, and also another thing on blood pressure cuffs. If you look, okay, you'll see the arterial marker right there. Okay, so over the brachial, you'll notice there's a bar on the outside of that blood pressure cuff. Says, and it has a number across it. And then you'll see as you lift it up, you'll see the bars also on the inside. Okay, and it has a vertical bar on each end. Okay, it's very important that that goes over the artery marker. So if you got He-Man, right, and that bar falls a little short of the artery marker, it can throw your blood pressures off by like 20 points. Okay, so it's easy to switch off. If you'll notice on the blood pressure cuff, it's just a pinch and remove. Okay,
Down here?
actually just right on the blood pressure cuff.
Oh, there
Yep,
we go.
right there.
Okay.
It's just a pinch and remove, right? You can get a different blood pressure cuff and just snap it right onto that one, okay? So that's important, is make sure that that bar covers that artery marker. And vice versa, if it's Grandma Betty, and that whole bar goes completely over the artery marker, right? Then you gotta get a smaller blood
Yeah, so
pressure cuff.
this is what you're talking about, like the bars
Yeah.
lining right up.
Yep, so this thing right here,
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's
yeah,
gotta be,
in that
it's gotta
range.
be in between it. It's gotta be in
Well,
between.
straighten that cuff out, it'd probably be even higher.
So does that make sense? Cool. And if it's somebody who has, right, we're in colder weather up here, if it's somebody who has like a sweatshirt on and then a t-shirt, you know, that's probably iffy, right? Especially if they have like a really thick long sleeve underneath and then that, and you put it over the top, it may not do as well. So if you can, right, if you can get it over a t-shirt or something, you know, over a t-shirt's fine, or over a long sleeve is fine, but long sleeve and a coat, then you might not get blood pressure. So just keep that in mind if possible. So go ahead, so let's go ahead and hit that button. So you guys can see that. I mean, I think most of the cases we're gonna get it on inflation. But with some of these ones with long sleeves or sweatshirt, right, it may have to pull some other. Well, we don't have the EKGs on. Do we have some EKGs we could grab real quick?
Yeah, throw them in the ambulance.
That's
Do
pretty
we
good.
need
That's
one
not
for
bad.
each?
Just grab four for each station. Sorry. So it looks like we caught you on inflation.
Yeah, it was fast.
Okay, good.
Pretty comfy.
Yep, so mean arterial pressures in the parentheses. Good. Yep. Systolic, diastolic. Okay. And
Oh, high for you, isn't it? I
It
think
was high the other day
it's your
too.
sweatshirt, I think.
Yeah.
There's something in the
Stress.
station.
There might be a little bit of elevated stress level right now.
that's right. A tall bald guy taking away an hour and a half of his life. It's stressful.
The ones on our heads are alarmed in the ambulance.
So while he's going to grab those, I want to show you guys a couple of simple views. Okay.
Yeah, no, it was super comfy.
Is there? In fact, yeah. Let's put these limb leads on because that'll help with the views as well.
You want the honor? You want the honor?
If you can figure out how to keep those all straight, it'll make a zillion bucks.
Yeah.
No, I'm not have to get the razor out.
Just a little tip and trick with these Zoll electrodes. When you put them on, if you trace your finger around the outside, okay, then that kind of activates the gel that's inside the middle, gets you a little bit better reading. And then when you go to remove it off the patient, if you actually press on the outside of the lead. So if you press on this part and press in, that makes it a lot easier to take them off. Kind of breaks the seal. So just a little tip and trick.
Well, they're putting those on the battery chargers, the battery charging bank inserts. Were those ordered?
Yes, they were. Yeah, they were ordered, and those will just snap right in your base charger and then the X-Series batteries.
I see why you got me on his phone now.
Blood
Blood pressure's going up even more
All
now.
right, we're gonna do some hair removal here. So you'll notice, and it may not come out of the manufacturing plant that way, but you may have noticed it switched automatically from pad to lead 2, and that should be up here in the upper left-hand corner. Okay. So again, just another tool, and I think the E-Series did that too. So that may not be as cool as, no?
Well, the E-Series had 2 different switches. You know, if you just turned it on, it was in lead 2 to begin with. If you turned it all the way over, it was
You switch over
Yeah,
pads.
turn
switch over pads. Yeah.
Okay. Or is this just boot up? Okay. So this will always boot up in pads. Okay. Awesome. So you'll notice, yeah, so you notice it switched over to lead 2. So that's it, right? That's basically covered everything for a vitals call, except, right, if we want to change it to auto blood pressures. But before we do that, I just want to show you guys a couple of simple views. So if you notice on the right here,
I'm doing another blood pressure just to
no.
see if it goes any quicker.
no worries. You guys notice here there's a picture of a home on the far right, okay? And then you'll also notice right above that, okay, there's a picture of an alarm, okay? Any low-level alarms, like the SpO2 sensors fell off or paper's getting low, if you hit that button, it'll put a green check next to it, and it will tell you what that low-level alarm is. And one of the ways that we can simulate this is you just take the SpO2 sensor off, right?
Buff that up.
And then you can pop it back on, and you'll see the yellow light pop up in a couple of seconds. If you hit that alarm button on the top right, puts a little green check, silences it for the rest of the call. It won't silence the life-threatening alarms, okay? It will silence them for about 15 seconds, but if that person bottoms out again on their blood pressure, it'll light back up again. So you saw the yellow light come on, a little green check popped up right next to the little warning, okay?
Searching, it says.
So the home button is probably like your second best friend. Right? You hit the home button, it's always going to take you back to the main screen. Okay. So when you hit the home button this first time, you guys are going to see trends, and I think they come out of the manufacturing plant set for 5 minutes. We can change that to where it automatically takes vitals every 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds, 5 minutes. Right? There's a lot of choices we can choose from that. Okay. So does the nurse ever ask at the hospital, like, hey, what's the trends, what's the vital trends of this patient for your call? You guys ever get that? No. Okay.
You can get them to listen, you're doing pretty good.
So just so you know, right? Just so you know, right? They're automatically being recorded, and that's where you can view them if you just want to show them. And then if you hit the home button one more time for me, hit one more time.
Big number.
Okay.
Now I can see it.
Now you got the big numbers. So this is for the person with the tablet in the background talking to the family, right? If they're recording it off of your patient care report, then it makes it a little bit easier for them to see that. Okay. And then if you hit the home button one more time, right? I'm just going to go back to your main view. So there's only 3 views: main view, trends view, big picture view. Right back to the standard view. Okay.
Is there a reason it's not recording respirations right now? Is that a
Because it's turned off.
Okay.
It comes out of the manufacturing
Gotcha.
plant. But
No worries.
it takes me, in fact, I'll show you guys. Let's do that since we got him here, because it's good practice.
Since you're going to be doing
Over here on the right, this is your new cursor and enter button that used to be on the top on your E-Series. Okay, so go ahead and just start hitting one of those arrows for me. I want you to notice, right, it turns things blue. If it's blue, it's something you can do. If it's blue, it's something you can do, which means you can change it. Okay, so go ahead, go down to respiratory, which is the purple one, and then hit the enter button, which is the circle.
It'll default to this from here on out.
Yeah, from here on out. Yeah, from here on out, it'll always default to this. And what's nice is what I change on one X-Series and I flash it to a USB stick, that's your master USB stick, right? And you can choose, right, who you want to be in charge of that. That USB stick will be the one that you'll use in case you get a loaner X-Series sent to you because something happened to one of your X-Series and it needs to go back for service.
Cards anymore?
No, it's not those SD cards
When
anymore.
we're here,
Yeah, what do we do here?
Oh.
We're in the rest.
Yep, so go ahead and scroll down to where it says respiratory monitoring
okay.
and then hit enter again.
Then you scroll down to
And
change
then
it.
you scroll down to change it to yes. Or on, sorry. On.
Oh, there it is, okay.
And then,
Circle button.
once you've changed what you want to change, you just hit the home button. Right? And that takes you right back to
Let's see what the guys many years like junior are
Since
getting.
you're doing so well on everything else right now.
So guess what? If we want to change the blood pressure to auto blood pressures, because we got long transport and we want it to just automatically take a blood pressure every 5-10 minutes, right?
They're going up now.
Blood pressure's way
From
out of
6,
whack.
yeah.
It's only raising 600.
Pretty much dying.
Yeah,
Right?
now it's
Okay,
going
good over
up.
here. Go ahead and scroll over to NIBP, which is probably your blue color.
Every 5 minutes. Done.
Scroll down to NIBP mode. Change it to auto.
Oh, okay.
And then you'll hit the enter, you'll hit the circle to go back out, and then you'll scroll down to NIBP mode interval.
No, it's the other way up.
Do we want to do this? Or do we
Yeah,
not wanna do
yeah,
this?
definitely.
Just check.
Yep.
And is that a permanent?
Right, that's the wrong thing.
Is that a permanent change, or will that reset
So
after
that
you-
one is not a permanent
Okay.
change.
Okay.
However, I have one agency that wants it to boot up in auto blood pressures because they figure within 5 minutes they're going to have the blood pressure cuff on 85% of their calls. And that's fine. Just be aware of if I do that setting, right, and we flash all the rest of these, there could be an instance where it starts inflating in the back, right? So
You don't want to take the zipper on the back?
so manual's the preferred because it's super simple and there's only one button you have to push. For
So it
75%.
will default back to manual if we turn this
It'll
off.
always default back to manual.
Got it.
However, things that don't default back to manual are things, and I don't know in the minds of the people who built these why some things don't default back and some do, but like respiratory rate, they figure if you change that, you want it on indefinitely. So,
Can you exit out of the screen with the home button, or do you have to scroll all the way down?
no, absolutely. Whenever
So,
you
I set
change
the thing
something,
to what I want.
and you're done, boom, just hit that home button, and it goes right back to home.
In that NIBP menu, what's smart cut
You're
on?
stressed out about.
So there's a turbo cuff, right? Is it turbo cuff? Or?
It says smart cut on and down below.
You are
Start
public
turbo
speaking,
cut.
dude.
So smart cuff is just that technology that I'm talking about that it'll tighten up and release and
Okay.
then deflate, right? Some people may, and I don't know why, maybe just want the traditional method,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Where it tightens up and then it just reads it on the way down.
Okay.
And that's fine, but yeah, I've never seen anyone turn that off. So,
Okay.
but that's what that is. And the turbo cuff is super sick patient. It's exactly how it sounds, right? It's just taking rapid blood pressures on the person for the transport. And I don't have anyone using that feature that I know of, right? Or else they haven't taken the time to call me back up and tell me. So cool. How are we doing so far? What questions from Vitals do you guys have?
Feel good about
Pretty
that.
simple? Okay. Yeah. Sweet. Okay. So, for this one, right, you guys might have to squint a little bit, but let's do a 12 lead. So we can show you what that looks like. So guess on your monitor which button you push if you want to see 12 pictures of the heart.
When it's
One that says 12 and squiggles.
There you go. So go ahead and hit that. Beautiful thing about the X-Series, which a lot of my medics love, my EMTs love, right, is the fact that they hit the 12 and they can see exactly what lead is falling off the pavement. So if V6 is falling off, right, they don't have to guess, oh, my 12 lead printed off, but it looks like crap and it's not even completed. Which one? Oh, like search on the patient, lift things up, move things around, trying to figure out, right? Where the leads have fallen off. So the nice thing about all 12 leads on view is you can see, oh, B1's got a bad electrode. I just need to switch that out. Okay, there we go. Right, it'll tell you what's what. So I'm going to use the simulator so you guys can see this. But in the back pouch, maybe, I don't know, who put these together?
Someone at Zoll did.
There you go. There it is. Alright, so you guys see the V leads in the back here? Same as your E-Series, right? It just plugs right into your NIVP. Or, not, sorry, your EKG. Plugs right
Wow.
into
Wow.
Wow. It's getting even better, huh? There's only one way it fits in. And again, your low level alarm's going to pop up.
Now is this a check number, right?
Your low level alarm's going to pop up just saying, hey, I can't see all the leads on the person. Okay? You guys are all familiar with how V leads go on. I don't need to spend any time on that. Good there. Okay. All right. So I've got, as I put these on, we'll put this person into superior ST elevation. And if you want, do you guys do quick sixes here? You guys do quick sixes? Okay, so the same way you do a 12 lead is the same way you'll do a quick six. However, with the quick six, you don't have to put in the patient's gender or their age, right? You just take a quick six. So what I'll do on your monitor is I'll program it as if you're doing a 12 lead. So it'll pop up the patient dialog box that will allow you to put in the age and gender. Our Innovize algorithm for 12 lead requires that you put in age and gender for it to be accurate. We only give you 2 choices for gender. Okay? And right, age, we can default that age to any age. Yes.
I don't know if I've seen it here or not, but how would you print that quick six? And would it be like the old one where you just hit and held the button for a minute, it printed it, and it stopped?
Yeah, so I'll show you that. We don't have, well, I guess you guys can tell me what you think's easier since you guys have used both. But
Oh, actually, right here.
Oh, at the side. Oh, okay.
so if you guys can kind of see over here, right? I know you're having to look kind of far. You guys can see, right? All the leads are popping up, or all the EKGs are popping up. So I'm seeing all 12 pictures of the heart right here. Okay, so if I was doing a quick six, or if I was doing a 12 lead, I push the same button. Notice at the top left, there's a camera taking a picture of the 12, right? So I want to take a picture, like just like going around, right? Checking all places of the heart. I want to take a picture of that 12 lead. So go ahead and hit that. You guys can hit it on yours, right? Now on yours, it's already starting to acquire the 12 lead, right? You see a little bar going back and forth, and you see a stop sign that popped up for a second on the left, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to program your monitors so that it pops up this box here. Now, be patient with me for just a second. I'm going to show you.
Yours comes up with no data available.
I'm going to show you what's going to automatically pop up. So when you hit that camera with a 12, okay, this is going to pop up automatically, just like it did on mine, okay? And to change it, again, right, it's defaulted at 45. We can change that to 60 because most of our STEMI patients are usually 60 and above, okay? You're going to go in. Let's go ahead and just change it. I want you guys to just practice this. Go ahead and change it to 70 or whatever age you want to choose on there.
Drop down. You just go up. It just scrolls up and down.
And then once you've got the age in, hit enter, right? Go down and then, again, 2 choices for gender. Currently.
It's very binary.
The Republican monitor?
Now once you put in those 2 things, right? Now quick six, you wouldn't even have to do that. All you would do is this would pop up. You'd know that you wouldn't have to mess around with that. and then you just come back to the camera with the 12, and you'd hit the button again. Okay?
So you can ignore that patient age sex screen that comes up with your own.
Yeah, you can just ignore it for a
And
quick
just
second.
go back to hitting that.
Camera with the 12. Yes.
And then does it print that for you, or does it just save it?
So it's going to automatically, I'm going to set it so that it automatically prints for you. So on mine, when I do that, so I change it, let's see, I'm going to change it to 50, and then this is a female. I'm going to go right back to the camera with the 12. The stop sign pops up. As you guys know, when someone's having a STEMI, right, they're sweating profusely, they're tripod, they feel like there's an elephant on their chest, pain down their arm, they're moving all over the place usually. They're in a lot of pain. If you see that on the screen, hit that stop sign. If you see all that artifact from them moving around, explain to them for the 5 to 6 seconds that they're just going to have to sit still while you acquire this 12 lead. Once it prints, right, and it's a STEMI, then you can hit the gas, right, on the ambulance and haul butt to, well, I guess in that case you guys probably call air, right, to take them to the cath lab? Or do you guys transport them? You're still going to go to the hospital and then transport them to the cath lab?
There's communication.
Okay. So it's going to automatically print, right? If you guys like red grid paper, we've got that as an option. If you guys like, just the plain white with the grid printed on there, we have that option as well. It's just whatever your preference is, okay? This happens to be the red grid paper. So if you look on here, as we pass this around, the analysis is going to be right in the middle. And it shouldn't, sorry. This is usually already torn off from the morning round. You're going to have your patient demographics on the left. You're going to have your analysis in the middle. And you'll notice, I put this simulator into a STEMI. You'll notice that, you'll notice that it has asterisks, STEMI, and then it tells you exactly where in the quadrants, right, that it saw either the appreciation or an elevation. So it'll say like, elevation in V2.
Yeah, this says market ST elevation in 2, ABF 3, ST depression, AVL, AVR.
Right. So the nice thing is that, if you have medics in your crew, in your group, right, they can go off of these STJ points right down here at the bottom, right, and they can do their thing there. If you have EMTs in the group, right, then that analysis, right, tells you exactly what's going on. And I'm going to show you how you can now send that right to the hospital to where everybody's going to be alerted right when you send it. Okay? There'll be, if there's a specific cardiologist that wants to get this, or a cardiologist group, or in the ER if they have a dedicated computer or a fax that they want that to be printed off, all those people get alerted automatically just by you selecting that hospital and sending it. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But I just wanted you guys to see, right, what happens when you do a 12 lead. And it's that simple, right? I hit the 12 leads pop up on my screen, I put the leads on the patient, I hit the camera with the 12, my patient dialog box will automatically pop up, I put in age, gender, and then I go back to the camera with the 12, I hit it, and then I'm done as far as acquiring the 12 lead. It'll automatically print it off, okay? So you'll have a paper copy. Let's say you ran out of paper. The nice thing is everything that prints off is also in this dark green right here, okay? So you could take this, there's a little purple arrow, okay? You can take that purple arrow and you can scroll through, right? If you had to read it off, like if you had to call and talk to somebody, right, you could read that off. So if you hit that purple arrow, Corey, no purple arrow. Right. So, sorry, you guys, we're requiring another one? All right. So this is after you've acquired it. You hit the camera with the 12, right? You've acquired it. You can actually scroll through, right, that 12 lead in case the paper ran out, right? And that's just something I wanted to show you because that could happen, right? It could happen when someone didn't check the paper.
So each push is just further down the strip.
Yep, it's just going down that strip that you guys are So that automatically pops up when you hit the camera with the 12 and it acquires it.
Okay, got it.
All of these apps will just automatically pop up.
Okay.
And so without going out of the screen, right, you guys still see your 12 lead on your screen? Okay, so without going out of the screen, okay, I just want you guys to be able to see that, okay? We're good there? So now, we want to send this 12 lead to the hospital, okay? So what hospitals are you guys wanting to send your 12? Just one. Wood
The only
River.
one we have.
Yeah.
Wood River, okay? So the beautiful thing about that is you see the 12 coming out of an envelope, right? That's automatically going to be there, okay? You're sending the 12 lead, right, to the hospital. That's what that envelope means. You're mailing it. You're sending it to the hospital. So go ahead and hit that for me, okay? Now on yours is blank, right? If you look over on mine, got a couple of hospitals in there. I got McKay Hospital and Ogden Regional Medical, okay? You guys will have Wood River Hospital, okay? And all you'll have to do, it'll already be highlighted blue. You're going to come over here to the enter button. You're just going to put a green check next to it, okay? Guys with me? After you put a green check to it, you're just going to scroll down to transmit, okay? And you'll want to check your little dandelion again, right? And make sure that you're connected to your tablet personal hotspot. And you'll know, because you'll see the green bars versus the dandelion on there. You'll know that you're connected. So as long as you're connected, okay, then all you're going to do is you're going to transmit. So go ahead and scroll down to transmit. Highlight that blue. Oh, because you guys can't hear in the hospital.
And you just hit the enter button, right? And it transmits.
Yep, so watch. So watch on mine. Right? I'll hit this. Okay. It's going to start to try and look for a signal. It's going to say trying to connect to network. I'm not connected to, well, actually, oh, shoot.
You're connected to something.
No, Ogden Regional's getting us.
Yeah.
We got Jimmy coming in.
So,
I forgot my multi-tech modem was hooked up to that.
so if you turn the machine off, would it stop the transmit?
No. No, you saw how fast that went? Yeah, they got it. But,
Do you need
You want to call?
yeah, do you need to call?
We'll wait.
Oh, shoot. I don't even know the number. Well, they're gonna. There's
Who
not.
knows your machine?
No one uses. Yeah, Ogden Regional doesn't get 12 leads that way. So, at least not right now. So,
Speaking of that, do they know what it's? Can you program in? This is coming from engine such and such, ambulance such and such, or?
so yes, you can do that. However, to make it simple for you guys, Joint Commission only requires 2 identifiers. Okay, so if I go back again, here's my patient dialog, or let's see, here's my. Let's see, how can I show this to you guys? Okay, so when that patient dialog box automatically pops up, okay, and you can put in age or gender, all right. If you look here on my screen, you'll notice that it says patient 0467, okay? That's one identifier. That automatically gets assigned by the X-Series to this patient. And then the other identifier is age, right? Gender is not an identifier. It is for the algorithm to work. So really you only need those 2 things, right? The hospital you can still go back into your patient care report and pull in the case and then pop in the information that way. However, if you wanted to put in first name, last name, okay, you can do that. But let me show you a tip and trick with that, okay? So let me just pull up a patient identifier box for you again.
But we wouldn't be going in that way. That's going to come up.
That's
When we are acquiring.
That's just going to automatically pop up. So the way to do this fast, okay, is when you scroll down, and you guys can go ahead and scroll down to first name, okay, and you hit enter, you'll notice up here on the left, it's got rows up and down, and then here goes left and right. So if I wanted to do this fast, like if I wanted to put in my name, okay, I come over here and
Instead of going to J that way.
And this is not fast at first, right? Because you guys aren't used to it. And then you notice I got a save button right here. So I don't have to scroll down to save. Just come over here and I hit save, right? So if you wanted to put in more information, you can, right? And eventually you guys will get real fast at that, okay? And then I just come right back over to camera with the 12, right? If you remember from our previous acquisition, I hit that, and then boom, right? There's my stop sign starting to acquire, and then again, it's going to automatically spit it out.
So this
Would
would sync up Bluetooth with a tablet that you can type it in?
Yeah, you don't have to do any of that anymore. Right? You'll notice my multi-tech modem, right, was plugged in, and it
No, I
pulled
meant
up the
to
green.
type in the name instead of
To
using.
get a keyboard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, geez, you know, there's nothing like that right now. What most of my agencies do is they just use the automatic identifier, the patient ID, and then the age, and then they'll just go back in their patient care report where they actually have a keyboard, or the tablet's a little bit easier to put it in, they'll just put in the information.
If we're sending to the hospital, do they get that same patient number so we can in our call in say, I sent you a 12 or
Yeah. In
patient
fact,
12 lead, it's patient whatever.
in fact, that actually might have sent that to my phone. I'll show you guys.
The strip down there.
I'll show you guys what it looks like.
Yeah, so I mean, that's true.
Would that first one you acquired now have that name applied to it, or only ones that you acquired after you entered that name? Does it back
You have to do
associate
it. I know what you're saying. You have to do it at the time.
Okay.
So you can't go back in later and add it in later.
Okay.
You have to do it at the time you acquire it.
Good hours.
So you can print it up also. This will pick up a Wi-Fi automatically.
Yeah, like if you have Wi-Fi in the station, yeah, you can. It will only pick up the Wi-Fi that you program into it. They call that an SSID number. You can't go into a patient's house and just because they have wireless in their home, the X-Series will not pick that up because of HIPAA stuff. So it only picks up a personal hotspot off your tablet or your station wireless that we program in. See if I can show you what that looks like.
I have a copy of one that was from your demo. I don't know where it is, but I can try to find that too.
Yeah, we printed it on the printer there.
What the hospital sees.
Of what the hospital would have received
Got it.
when we did a demo test.
Looks like we got to get another tablet from Station
Yeah.
3 ammo.
I don't have one on my phone right now, but it's like a PDF of exactly what that strip is with the patient ID and the age and gender and all that stuff.
It's a very nice looking
Very sharp.
12 lead.
Yeah.
It's very clean.
Yeah.
But if we forego the name, they get at least the patient ID number, and we can refer to it as that.
Exactly.
Over the radio.
Yes.
In case they're getting multiples or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I was, my biggest concern, yeah.
It's better than the cell phone.
17, 12 leads going in there at one time.
Yeah.
Could be so more.
Yeah.
And right, the goal is to have the hospital also have a Zoll online account. It's free, and have it just linked up with you guys so that the chime will go off on their computer, and they'll know, oh, this is coming from Wood River. Oh, it's coming in from Medic Engine 62, and here's the time it was acquired. Here's the date, and here's the 12 lead. Okay, so now they have the patient ID, right? They got age, gender, the time that it was acquired, where it came from, right? They can see all that automatically, and so
This is going to their printer, copier,
Whatever
Fax
we want.
machine.
You can go to an email address or a fax machine.
or it can
It'll-
go,
whatever.
or it can
It'll
go
probably
to their
start with the
computer.
fax machine and then.
Probably the unit secretary's Facebook page.
And once you can assign multiple contacts within Wood River. So if there's an ER doc that wants to get all acute STEMIs, he doesn't want to get every STEMI, but he wants the acute ones, right? Then you can check the box on his name, and every time it's sent, he'll get alerted on his phone. It's pretty cool. So you guys actually saw how it worked. So that's how it's sent, and then.
Call them, maybe they could fax it to us.
So any question on 12 lead, how to view, acquire, read, or send? Again, to recap, right? And I'll do it again here for you. I go to 12, right? Hook up my lim leads, my V leads on the patient. I go to the camera with the 12, And because I've already acquired a 12 lead, my patient dialog box isn't going to pop up this time because it thinks I'm still working with the same patient. So it thinks I'm just acquiring another 12 lead. But your patient dialog box will pop up. You'll put in the information. And then you go right back to the camera with the 12. You'll hit it. It'll acquire it. And then automatically it'll pop up the apps to send it. So there's my 12 coming out of the envelope. Right? If I want to print another copy of it, you'll see there's a little toilet paper roll with the printer roll. Right? You hit that, it'll highlight blue for a second, print you off another copy in case somebody at the ER wants, hey, can I have a copy of that? And you want to keep a copy for you. Right? But again, remember, all this stuff is automatically recorded. So, and it automatically is going to go into your image train elite. So you really don't need to
You don't
have
have to print a strip to put in your report anymore. It's
No.
just going to be already.
Well,
Yeah.
eventually, but right now, yes, we do have. So we'll,
Eventually.
you can show
Okay,
us
great.
also, like, if we shut the machine off, how we can go back in and
Change it to
retrieve.
where you turn off, print 12 lead automatically.
Or-
Just change that to off.
Or
Retrieve an
just,
old one.
no, I mean, just to be able to retrieve, you know,
To retrieve
data
old
from a
ones.
previous call or something, yeah.
your
Yeah.
call log.
Yeah, because somebody, you know, while you're cleaning the ambulance, turn your monitor off, and now you're like, oh crap.
If we haven't written that, because we're still at the point where we're writing down everything. We write down all our vitals. We write down. So if we can't access it, you know, if we can access history, that helps.
Yeah. So let's do that, okay? So go ahead and hit the 12 again, if you're not there already. You guys see there's a little paper with a green check?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead and hit that. So all the patient IDs are on there, right? It has the time that you acquired it, and then the date.
How many will it hold? How much information?
So it holds 8 gigs of information. Block.
Okay, so it's
you're
not,
going to have
it's not a time thing, then it's more of a storage.
more storage space.
Will automatically,
So eventually, like
It'll drop
a year
below.
from now, we'll start dropping like our first 12 leads.
First in, last out. Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually you'll get to that point. So like on the E-Series, you had to like empty it out. Well, some of the agencies told me they would have to do that. With these, there's none of that. Right? There's no managing. You just go back in, and whichever one you want to view, right, by the date and the time you acquired it, then you just select it, and it'll pop it right back up on your screen.
And can you print it from there again?
And you can print it again. You can even send it again.
Okay, it's just like you just acquired it at that point. Now you're looking at it. And,
about caching it.
So, sorry Nate, but we're gonna go back to our home screen again.
Okay.
Because I didn't do a 12 read on this guy, but I want to get all his vitals. Where was that trend again? So I can go back.
press home again.
I'm back on that screen there.
So you're back on this one, the main one,
Yeah.
and you just want to get.
Oh, there it is. Never mind. We found it.
Yeah, you just press.
Oh,
home
you
again.
just want to see the trends of the patient.
Yeah, we got it. Okay.
Would you guys like to print that off?
Yeah.
Print the trend history?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to do that? Okay. So go ahead and hit the home button for me once to get in the trend screen.
Okay, so
So we're there.
Just once you're there, I want you just to go and highlight NIBP trends.
okay.
Just keep hitting home.
And then
And then I want you to hit the enter button. So hit the enter button. And then do you see at the bottom where it says print trend summary? Right. Just go down to that and then hit the button.
hit the bottom. We're gonna do it. Okay, thank you.
What did you do after you got the trend
I mean, that's great.
Hit enter.
Walk into the ER.
Well, we can do that. We can do that.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
This is for
highlight
times when it's like,
Okay,
where's
so
my
you
blue
go
sheet
there.
or somebody peeked on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Until you get that. Now hit enter.
There's so much coming at me today.
Now go down to print test summary. Or trend summary. This one more. And you just exit these.
Yeah, change to a different brand.
So hit
Add
enter.
the technology and the machine change.
That's really spelled whole.
So here, down to there. This is blue.
Okay, yeah.
Enter. Go down to. So I got you to exit. You actually want that.
Cool.
Okay. Got it.
Keep breathing, Trey. You're back down to 7.
Second time I've done this.
Yeah, it's almost $27 for each roll of tape.
Awesome. I'll send you guys a case.
No.
part of
Are
training.
you gonna show us the really easy way to knock those suckers and put them in?
Yes, yes. I'll show you.
I
very-
see paper on there.
Yeah. Yep. That's when I run out the door and I yell 95% restocking fee. And I get down and stop and I just drop. So when we acquired, so Welch Allen built this for the military without paper and without a defib in it. So it was limited space inside this thing when we purchased it, when we acquired it from them. So we had to find a place to put paper because everything was just done wirelessly. I don't know how they got away with that, but for the Army, so I guess they can do whatever they want.
So
Military.
on the trend summary, that goes away once the power goes off, and you start fresh.
So no. So yes, as far as viewing it on the screen, but if you ever wanted to go back and view a patient call from yesterday or whatever, you'd be able to print all those trends off again. And in fact, you could print off the whole case. If you guys wanted to print off the whole case from beginning to end, it has the ability to do that too. So it'll actually say, this is when you turn the monitor on. This is when the pads were placed on the patient. This is when an EKG was picked up. This is when an SpO2 was, if you guys want that detail, right, you can get that. So good. Yeah. So
Sometimes we don't need that kind of detail.
hit the alarm. Yeah, good.
Good for training, though.
Yeah, it's great for training, but could be bad for court. Depending on how many, because those times are gonna match with dispatch times.
So
These are the official times, in my opinion.
So quick 6, right, just so you guys can see. So quick 6 is obviously just going to be the first 6 views of the heart from the 4 limb leads, okay? And then again, right, I'm just going to hit the camera with the 12, and it's going to automatically print it off for me, okay?
Oh, it acquires it, though, and then prints it, okay.
So they'll acquire it, and then they'll print it.
Still says acquired.
Yeah, why are we saying 12?
That wouldn't have anything to do with it.
Oh, are you trying to do a limb lead?
No, his isn't quick six.
Quick
Oh,
six is just hit
Yep, so
12.
here's a quick 6.
Yeah,
And then just go ahead and hit the camera with the 12.
I did, that's what happened.
Okay, so
It
you're
doesn't
firing
print
fire
fire
now.
now,
And
because
then
we've already,
camera, that's your quick six.
Gone to 12 and now back to
Right.
leads.
Right,
It doesn't print it.
since it thinks it's on the same patient, it's like, oh, they're just wanting to do a quick 6 on this patient now, after they've done a 12 lead.
Yeah.
So, the patient dialog box will pop up one time only during each call. And then, just so you guys know, when you turn these things off, right, it's got an internal battery that runs for 2 minutes. That's a safety feature. In case the battery dies and you got everything hooked up on the patient, you got 2 minutes to go grab the spare battery, pop it into the back, turn it back on, and it'll automatically, the timer on that top left that you see will pop up at that, well, it'll pop up 10, 15 seconds, however long it took you to grab the battery, but it stays on the same patient. And then all the things start popping back up again.
So if we wanted to research it, we'd have to wait 2 minutes, is what you're
Just
saying.
to get a quick six.
It was a quick six.
Well, you just,
Print.
if after 2 minutes of it being off,
Mhm.
it'll think when you turn it back on that there's a new patient now
Got it.
that's working on it. So,
But I guess, if you have 12, there's no point
Go
going
back,
quick six.
yeah.
so good. So cardiac arrest.
Ready, Trey?
Just ready for this
No way to
one.
no way to fake this. So
So again, I'm going to show you guys. This part you're going to have to stand up and probably come to where you can see the screen a little better.
I got really good eyesight.
Voice activation.
So whisper into the mic.
Yeah, turn off. Turn off. You have to say, hey,
Zoll. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Hey, Zoll.
We gotta name them first.
So now remember, in your bag, right? This is already tucked in, ready to go, right? So when you guys boot it up and you place the pads on, right? all you're going to have to do, my battery's running low, so I might have to reset this, is from the first compression that I do, all my information is going to pop up here on the screen. So here's what you're going to see, okay? We're going to do pink, cardiac arrest. So you're going to see the EKG coming across. Let's say this person's in V-fib. It's going to look more like V-tach. The reason it's going to look more like V-tach, okay, is because the pads are picking up all the artifact from our compressions, okay? So that's why it's going to look like big, huge waves, right? This is what V-fib looks like filtered, okay? So the technology in the X-Series is really cool. We're actually the only ones who have a filtered EKG. So the filtered EKG takes away all the artifact in here so that you can actually see the underlying rhythm. So it looks more like refined V-fib, right? So that you can see, oh, that's a shockable rhythm, right? But the X-Series is also an AED. So all you got to do to put it into AED mode is just hit the analyze button, right? That's it. You don't even have to worry about this kind of stuff. But I just want you guys to know what this is, okay? So EKG, we got our filtered EKG, and then another sign that somebody's coming back, right, is our capnography, our end-tidal CO2, okay? And what it's going to do is it's going to push your heart rate over here to the top. It's going to push your SpO2 number over here. It's going to push your end-tidal CO2 number over here. So normal end-tidal CO2 is 35 to 45. Okay. Usually someone in cardiac arrest is in the single digits, but through perfusion and through our compressions, drugs that we're giving, all these things kind of combined, right? If that number starts climbing up to 20, right, there's a sign that we're getting this person back, that they actually might survive, okay? So your end-tidal CO2 number will be here, and then right underneath it will be your breaths per minute, okay? So it'll give you a breaths per minute underneath. And then let's see, heart rate, SpO2, end-tidal CO2, and then I think NIDP. So it pushes all your vitals over here to the side. And then at the bottom here, okay, you're going to get a numerical number for depth, right? So HA guidelines 2 to 2.4 inches for depth.
Now back up on your breaths per minute, that is the person providing the assisted ventilation, right?
Right, yeah. So that's your, well, it's actually the person's carbon dioxide that's being dispelled out. So it's registering to see if the body is starting to function the way that it normally should. And so it's starting to read the carbon dioxide that's being expelled out. And that, right, what do you guys use for intubation here? Do you guys use like
Kings.
ETs and Kings.
ETs and Kings.
ETs and Kings? Okay. So,
because I was just wondering if you can use that to say, hey, slow your breathing down.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
that's
It's the exhalation.
so these are, have you guys seen these yet? I know I sent some up to you to practice with. Did those ever come cheap, those ones I sent?
Unless you put them in the bags, I don't know.
It's the same.
These are the same ones.
Same thing we have. Yeah.
That's right.
Different connector on the end.
Yeah.
So this is for airway, okay? And then you also have the option of nasal cannula, right? So for conscious breathers, right? If they're conscious and you just want to see if there's hypo or hyperventilation, or if you just want to bleed supplemental O2 into them while they're in a cardiac arrest, right? There's actually an agency that's bleeding 15 liters of supplemental O2, so they'll put nasal cannula on the patient, and then they'll put the bag valve mask over, right? And they'll still do the respirations, but they found just bleeding 15 liters of O2 has really helped as far as their neurological outcome and that type of thing if they're able to get ROSCA. And I can send you that. That's a whole nother topic, right? But so you got airway and then you got nasal cannula. So the way this fits in, again, everything for BLS is all over on this side. So if you look in here, right, there's a little flap. Okay, you guys can see that on your monitors if you want a closer view. This is just a one-handed insertion. Okay, so there's a little lip on the top of this flap, right? I just slide it right on the top of that. It slides into the hole, and then it's just a friction fit. So I just turn it maybe a quarter until I fill it friction fit, right? Or nice and firm, okay? So I'll have Bass breathe into this while I start doing compression so that you guys can see, right, the entitled CO2. Now, there's a software update that's going to come where the minute that's plugged in, the X-Series will recognize that and just entitled CO2 will turn on automatically. But for right now, okay, you got to hit the CO2 button, okay? So once you guys innovate, right, then entitled CO2 goes on and then bag, okay? So innovate, entitled CO2 goes on top of that, and then bag, okay? And that works, that adapter works for any, I think they're all universal, they're all the same. So it'll fit right on the top there.
And it's not, there's not a PD version? Because we had the, like, one, the
There
ones
is.
that said, like, adult and pediatric and then pediatric.
So there is. So this one is adult / pediatric, so it's universal that way.
Okay. Any
But
reason
there is a pediatric one that you can buy as well.
if I want to spend more money?
Right. So this one, right, is the one that I like because obviously it works for both situations. Okay.
Before you get back to the cardiac arrest, if we just want capnography, can we just hit the CO2 button now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, we're good to go. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to have Bass hit that once I start doing my compressions so that we can kind of stimulate it. Most of the time when you're doing end-tidal CO2, it's during a cardiac arrest, typically, when you guys are doing that. Okay.
We're trying to do more of it on
Do
like
more of it.
COPDers and conscious patients, but
Oh, good.
most of the time
then
it's
with
not.
the nasal, with the nasal cannula, yeah, you just hit the CO2. Now the nice thing about this new technology, you don't have to zero it out like you did on the E-Series, right? There's no special adapter. This is all disposable, right? You just toss it. If at some point during the cardiac arrest, as you guys know, blood, right, saliva, crap starts getting pulled into this tubing, okay, it actually has a purging feature, right? It'll go into a purging mode automatically. It'll reverse from expelling the carbon dioxide out. It'll reverse suck in the air. There's a little port down here at the bottom where it expels it out. It'll suck air back in, push all that crap out, and then once it feels it's unoccluded, it'll go back to drawing back in carbon dioxide again.
So we don't have to throw that one away and get another one
Right.
in the cold.
And you don't have to mess around with that. So that's nice. Okay. So, numerical number for depth. Did you guys ever see this on your E-Series?
A gauge, didn't it?
Yeah,
It was
like
like
a
an
color
bar
bar
graph.
graph.
Yeah.
Kind of very rudimentary. Yeah, it was kind of archaic a little bit. So this is nice because this will actually give you an actual number, and the number will be green as long as you're in 2 to 2.4 inches. Okay, but the minute you go below that or above that, it turns yellow. So there's a nice visual indicator. Okay, we can also turn on audio if you want, where it says push harder. Right. Most of my agencies don't like that. They just like the visual because they don't want the family hearing, oh, they're not doing CPR good, or they got to push harder. Hey, push harder. You know, it just causes more chaos in the scene. So usually just the visual is nice. You've got a numerical number plus the colors change on it, which is cool, right? Then you got a numerical number for depth, or for rate, excuse me. Oh, what is it? Switch. Roll around. So now I've got a numerical number for rate. As long as you're within 100 to 120, which is the HA guideline, right, then it'll stay green. Then you go below or above that, right, it'll change to yellow, okay? And then you've got a release indicator here. So the nice thing about this is this thing will start to fill up as long as you're not leaning into the patient. Because what happens when we get tired? We lean into them, right? We lose our bracing on the patient. Or we're not coming up off the chest that well, where we can slide a credit card underneath. Because if we're coming up off the chest just a little bit and having that rebound, that allows blood to come back into the heart, right? Better perfusion, right? And if we're doing all three of these things well, then you're going to see a diamond right here. This is called our perfusion performance indicator, and it'll start to fill up. And if you're doing all three of these things, if this is all green and this is full, and you got good release, it'll be completely full. And if you're off the chest for longer than 10 seconds, right, then it will slowly dissipate. You also have a timer over here that starts at 2. Do you guys switch off every 2 minutes with your compressions? So this is a countdown right? There'll be a countdown at the end of the 2 minutes. You'll know, okay, I need to switch, right? So there's a nice indicator there. And if you ever come completely off the chest, right, then it'll say CPR idle right in here in this box, CPR idle time. So it actually calculates and records when you're not on the chest. Because if you're off the chest for longer than 10 seconds, all that perfusion is gone that we've built up, plus the chances of survivability decrease dramatically. It also keeps the adenosine triphosphate high, right? Adenosine triphosphate, the ATP in the patient starts off real high when they go into cardiac arrest. If there's bystander CPR being performed, it stays high, right? But if there's not, and you guys arrive on scene, right, that 2 minutes is what we're doing to build that back up, that energy for the heart and that perfusion, so that we can get the best conversion form of the energy. So, any questions on what you guys are going to see? So let's see it.
Should be a gold star, is all I can say.
So here we go. So everything just automatically pops up, okay? Bass has already intubated the patient super quick because he's got mad skills, right? And he's turned on his end-tidal CO2. So at the top,
deeper.
Right? You guys are
He was going to say you got to turn
Deeper, push harder.
There we go. There we go. Okay. So at the top, right, you're going to see CPR. You're going to see the EKG with artifact in it. Now the X-Series is actually pretty smart. It knows, right, that a simulator is on it right now. And so the filtered EKG and the regular EKG look the same. I actually have to bump my rate up to 135 for you guys to be able to see that filtering happen. But you see the countdown timer on there? Watch what happens, right, when I start to get tired and I'm leaning in the patient. See how the numbers change, colors, okay? I'm not going deep enough, I'm not going fast enough, okay? But if I see that, and I'm the compressor, right, then I'm going to be like, oh, I need to push harder, right? I need to go faster. Oh, I'm leaning into the patient, I got to correct that. And as I correct those things, you notice that the perfusion performance indicator, right, starts filling back up again. And unfortunately, this is a spring-loaded mannequin, so I can only go so deep. But it's good for you guys to see, right, how those colors change on there. Okay? So this is what the filtered EKG looks like. You see that difference? Oh, sorry. See that filtering that's going on that second one?
Now it's looking more like
I don't even have to come up off the chest, right? I know that person's in defib. So,
there's an ace.
if I want to, just go down again. So, right? So let's go ahead and let's hit analyze. Right? For AD, someone go ahead and hit analyze. You come up off the chest, right? It's going to analyze, typically within 6 to 7 seconds.
You probably have batteries if you need them.
No shock advised.
So, yeah,
Perform CPR.
went out. So you can hit it as many times as you want, right? You don't have to wait at the end of the 2 minutes where it automatically analyzes for you to be able to do. Oh, there you go. Yeah. We have to do this fast. It's going to automatically highlight, right? Because it's going to recognize VFib, and then go ahead and hit the shock button.
Okay.
Boom. If I don't convert them, right? So no pulse, right? Do your carotid or femoral, no pulse, right? Shock, and then if not, right? Perform CPR. I come back on. I didn't get them that first round. Everything's just going to automatically pop up again. Okay. So I can wait for the 2 minutes, and it'll automatically analyze again. Or if I see that they're VFib, or let's say bystander CPR was being performed, great. Let's go ahead and analyze right when we put the pads on the patient. Okay? Then it'll tell you if shock's advised or if shock's not advised. Okay? And then it'll just light up, and then boom, shock. And you notice, right? You'll notice it does an auto escalation from 120 joules to 150 joules to 200 joules. Okay? But you also noticed, right, when I hit that button, it gave 167, didn't give 150. Because the pads send a quick signal through the patient to measure for impedance. We all have different impedance based on our bone structure, air in our lungs, fat, hair, skin, all those things, right? Our impedance. Because we're trying to get current converts the heart, not energy. We want to get that current right into the myocardium, right into the heart, to convert that over for the patient. So it's going to measure, it's going to basically give a customized dose based on the impedance of that patient to deliver that current right into the heart.
So are you analyzing through compressions?
So no.
No.
So no. You want to.
You're just filtering out compressions. For the
Now, if you are so just a sidestep on that. Once you have your medic license, right, and you can read underlying rhythm, and you can base off of the rhythm that's on there, then you can do compressions all the way up until it lights up, and do a 3, 2, 1, come up, verify B-fib, no pulse, shock, right back on the chest. We'd love to have your peri-shock pause times around 2 to 3 seconds, because all that good perfusion you built up, right, the faster you can shock them, the quicker, the better chances of conversion.
So we'll be doing that instead of using the
analyze.
And we're just going for the charge button at that point.
Oh, good. Okay.
That's how we generally do it. But if somebody's been using it in AED mode, so they hit analyze, it shocked it, it's counting down to 2 minutes, it's going to want to analyze automatically again. If we just change
energy
select, then that puts you back into manual.
Puts you back
just
into
like
manual.
the old way.
That's
Okay.
fine. So let's do that, right? So someone has analyzed, and then we come on scene, and we want to just select our joules. Okay.
Almost to 2
Okay.
minutes. I want to see what they do.
We can select it, right? Comes up, lights up, right? We're still doing compressions, come up off the chest, verify V-fib, shock, and then right back on the chest. And the minute again, right, that the pad detects our compressions, it'll pop everything back up again for you.
Back to the analyze mode. So after 2 minutes, are we going to get an audible, just a visual? What's going to say?
So once it's in AED mode, then yeah, at the end of 2 minutes, okay, well, so right now it's analyzing, and it didn't see anything, so it's going to perform CPR. So at the end of that 2 minutes, I don't know if mine's set for that, but I can program yours, so at the end of that 2 minutes, it'll just automatically analyze. If it sees VFib or VTAC, then it'll highlight that red mark, shock them, right, and then if you don't convert them, right back on the chest.
Yeah, that's how we like it. That's how our current setup is with voice prompts and automatically analyze, just like a true AED would. We tried to make our AED mode as much like a little Philips AED would. Yeah.
Without compression feedback audible, though.
Right,
Yeah.
right. No, I'm just
None
talking about the
harder,
AEDs.
faster,
No.
but yeah, just
talking about
analyze.
the
Don't
AED
touch
mode.
the patient. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. So I'll program that so that in AED mode, right, it'll say stop, analyzing the patient,
yep.
right? Shock advised or no shock advised, perform CPR, but we can turn off the push harder or good compressions.
Yes.
Perfect.
We can turn that off.
Because that just makes it, because we all do CPR training with just the standard, the AED trainers, and so the closer we can make the Zoll
To that, the better.
the better.
And if we end up with a BLS crew out, that's
Right.
nice too to have that. Yep.
Yeah, just to make it as similar
Yep.
to the AED as.
Yep.
Um,
So you're at 30 seconds now. You don't think yours is going to do anything?
well,
You've
let's
got
see.
it.
Let's see.
Is your V-fib going to last for 30 seconds?
Probably not, but I'll turn it back on. I was going to stop by the store and grab one. I forgot.
What does it take?
It's just a little.
And bolt?
Oh yeah.
Just grab up from your smoke detector.
I know, we got a pile of them here from smoke detectors.
I did.
6, 5, 4.
Showed a house on
Turn it on.
yesterday.
Just stop CPR.
So no audible. It's just
Run.
probably going to say yep. Analyzing. Stand clear.
So yeah.
I just went through our rental.
So yeah. So it's set up.
I just went through our rental. All the smoke
Hold
detectors
down.
were
Yep. I showed a house here.
batteries out and disconnected.
So it is set that way. So again, so you guys can see the impedance. Someone go ahead and hit shot for me.
Make that noise stop.
So again, you see where it'll measure for
231
impedance
joules.
and then give either above 20%
The life
above
pack, yeah,
or
would be
20%
impressed.
below the joules selected based on the impedance of the patient.
Yep, the light pack.
How old is the X-Series?
So it came out in 2012, and the nice thing about this is all of our software and everything that we do to it. In fact, there was just a new one released just barely. and I'll check and see if your monitor's got the brand new software. We just send out a USB stick, and then you can plug it in, and it just automatically updates with all the stuff that's going on. Like right now, our auto pulse mechanical CPR device will now communicate with the X-Series, and the band that comes across the puck, they programmed it so that it recognizes a semi-circumferential squeeze versus a sternal squeeze, and it'll pop up auto pulse on your X-Series. So then when you go back and you pull up your CPR report card for training, you can see, oh, here's where we started with manual compressions. Okay, here's the space of time of 3 minutes. Okay, here's the auto pulse. So then you can go back as a crew and you can say, hey, let's try and shorten that 3 minutes down to like 2 minutes or 1 minute, transitioning from manual compressions to the mechanical device. And so you can use a lot of information that comes from this for training, which is really cool. When you guys tear the paper, make sure you go away or towards you. Don't go side to side. You won't get a nice clean cut on that.
Get the whole toilet paper roll.
Snapshot. So you guys see this little camera down here? All right. Someone go ahead and look into the camera there and hit the camera button. It's going to automatically upload your profile to Facebook, Instagram.
Tell it first. You have to talk to it.
So Snapshot's cool. So Snapshot, if you guys see, let's pop the battery on because this will be a good.
Is that just wasting since that's not reading anything?
No, so this is cool. I'll pass this around so you guys can see it, and I'll show you some instances where my agencies use this. So, if you guys notice on here, there's a little camera right in the middle. So if you guys see a string of V-fib come across, and then it goes back to an NSR, and you're like, whoa, that patient, was that the rhythm that I just thought I saw? You can hit Snapshot. It'll go back 12 seconds, forward 12 seconds, and put you off a 24-second window. So, right, so let's say they're starting off in an NSR, and then they went to V-fib for a second, and then they went back to an NSR. I hit the Snapshot button. It'll go back 12 seconds, forward 12 seconds, and put you off a 24-second window. And again, these snapshots will all be imported into your image train lead. So the other reason people would do a snapshot is like certain drugs. Do you guys give adenosine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you know that short flat line that happens, okay, where there's that chemical change. So instead of just having paper print the whole time, trying to capture it at that exact moment when that happens, you see it, right? It happens. You hit the snapshot button. It goes back 12 seconds, forward 12 seconds. And now that's recorded in your X-Series. Plus, you also have it recorded on the strip of paper. We can turn off
That's where I hit the button. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We can turn off the automatic print too, to where if you just want your snapshots eventually, right when you get to that point. Okay. The other reason they do it is airway. So airway, end-tidal CO2 gets turned on, right? That way the hospital, you hit snapshot, you move the patient from the cot out of the ambulance to the ground. You hit snapshot again, you hit it a couple times, you got your end-tidal, you got your nice capnography waveform, your end-tidal CO2 number. That way the hospital can't ever come back and say, well, you didn't intubate correctly. Well, I did. Got 3 different timestamps with end-tidal CO2 number on there. And we did intubate correctly. So those are like 3 little simple instances where they use snapshot, but you can really use it for anything. Anything you want to have, you see or want recorded. And then that transitions right into drugs, right? So if you guys want, you can go back down. You can go back down to where your monitors are. We need to exit out of this. On your monitors, right, below CO2, you see a nice little RX cross on there.
Right there.
Oh, it worked! Yeah, good.
You have to say Zoll first.
Little RX cross there. Go ahead and hit that.
Oh, cool.
We can customize your top 10 drugs or interventions in here. Okay, so fast we can do that later, right?
Yeah,
you guys
I
can
see
decide
that.
as a group.
Yeah.
Typically, what my agencies do is they'll put their top 5 drugs or interventions on the first page, And then if you notice it says page 2 at the bottom, you hit that, then they'll put their cardiac drugs on that second set of 5. And if you guys hit that, go ahead and hit those buttons. You'll notice it just highlights blue for a second. So this is when we innovated. This is when we gave epi. This is when we gave aspirin. This is when we gave adenosine, right? You hit that, and it just timestamp records it, and then it imports it into your image training lead. And there's also a generic one. We can program these to say, one can say GENR. You hit that for anything you do. And then when you go back in your report, you'll be like, oh yeah, I hit generic when I did this. You know, if you want to just remember.
And is there a way to print out the drugs that you've given?
So there is. Yep. So if you want a print of that, you can do that as well. And I can show you how to do that.
And then once we're released, it'll just upload those times into the chart as a regulation.
So they say.
I promise you, like it's training lead, because I've had so much experience with it. It's actually really cool.
It's not.
Everything's red. That highlights things you need to change and do. So you spend more of your time like inputting and changing things versus manually putting everything in. Right? You still got to go in and put a few things in, but all the stuff is in there for you.
Put on your iPad on the way back from the hospital, you have to report.
Alarms.
Leave it when I see it.
You guys don't do cardioversion, right?
We do.
Yep.
Do you? Okay.
Yep.
So, cardioversion, that's the sync button. Okay. I'm not going to put anybody into AFib, so let's just go ahead and select AFib on here. And let's take this off so that it doesn't confuse people. Okay, so person's in AFib, it's usually when we cardiovert, right? You guys can go ahead and do it on your screen. Just go ahead and hit sync for me. Right, the little sync yellow button's going to pop up, and if you can see on my monitor, right, it's going to put a yellow dot on the R wave. So it's going to find that R wave no matter where it's at. So if they're in Torsades or AFib or whatever, it's going to find that R wave, sync it up. And then the only difference is with defibrillation, you guys just hit the button. But with cardioversion, you got to press and hold. And it actually even says on there, so go ahead, that's
You pick your energy,
select
right?
your energy that you want. Whatever your guys' protocol is, 100. And then hit charge. So it's actually going to say in a second, it's going to say press and hold to shock, because it's got to actually find the R wave. Right? So he's just going to hold in the button.
Is it going to do anything if I...
No.
Let's check everything off.
In fact, we could throw the limb lead back
I
on.
only had 10 to 10.
It's not going to shock through the limb lead.
No surprise.
Well, maybe we won't.
Stop for a
So you have to, you push and hold the shock.
And then do you guys like auto resync? So if you don't cardiovert them on the first time, do you want it just to auto resync and sync back up again automatically without having to hit the sync button again? Because we can set it up that way.
Yeah, might as well.
So the video said
Although
something
we
about
might be
you
more
need
likely to-
leads and pads to cardiovert?
So only for pacing.
Only for pacing.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Cardioversion, electrodes can only see or they can deliver energy. They can't do both at the same time. So that's why with pacing, you got to see the underlying rhythm. So you got to pop the limb leads on for pacing, and you got to have the pads on for pacing. And just as a side note for you, right? If you grab pads that have the puck in the middle, some agencies buy 2 different types of pads. They'll buy pads that they use for pacing that don't have the puck, and they'll only use the ones with the puck for cardiac arrest. So they'll have like their cardiac arrest pads, and then they'll just have their like confirming death pads or cardioversion pads, right? But if you use these for pacing, just make sure when you tear the puck off that it's stationary, right? Because if that puck is swinging around, right, off of the patient, the monitor will think, oh, there's compressions being done. And it'll pop up your CPR dashboard. So just a little side note. with that. Okay, just stick it to something, right? Stick it to the patient's leg, or stick it to the packaging, you know. So, just a little side note on that. Any questions on cardioversion? Okay. You guys do pacing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So for this part, obviously because we got to use the simulator, let's go ahead and put this person into, well, actually I got to use this one. So this is the one where you do need to have limb leads.
See, we'll probably want another 9 for this
Yeah,
one.
we're gonna have to offset the.
Those are expensive.
Yeah.
We'll just trade them the cylinder for it.
Straight across. It's an expensive battery.
You notice
Everything's expensive up here. Haven't you figured that out?
Yeah.
It's 9-volt energized when I
It's
put
true,
that
it's
in there.
true.
It'll work.
It's true. Alright, so we'll put this person in a 3rd degree block.
That's your about to kill him. That's your about to kill him alarm.
Yeah, we haven't heard that one yet.
Now we know what it sounds like. That's when you try and pace about
Yeah,
it.
a little much going
Oh.
on
Or
there.
any lead. No, don't do that.
Bryn?
Lead fault.
Oh.
Okay,
There you
there we go. So there's my 3rd degree block. Okay. You notice you got a nice little pacer button right here, right? And you guys can do this on yours. Go ahead and hit the pacer button. Okay. It's going to automatically pop up your information block. Okay. So it's going to automatically pop up in demand mode. So demand mode allows the heart to take over if it needs to. Okay. So, for example, and then the rate is going to automatically be defaulted to 70 and then 30 for the output. Now, if your medical director has something different that he wants the rate set at, we can default that rate to that. So some agencies have their rate defaulted to 80, right? And that's fine, okay? We can change that. But just for training purposes, it's not started when I hit the pacer button, right? That's just my information block, okay? So to start it, I just have to scroll down to Start Pacer, hit Enter. It's going to change it to blue, and I'm going to see my P spike pop up, okay? So I'm going to see my P spike. I know it's on, and then I'm going to go to my output. And the X-Series will increase 5 milliamps, 10 milliamps, and decrease 5 milliamps, okay? So when I'm trying to get capture, right, I slowly increase my milliamps. Now, Dr. Paul Zoll was actually the first person to pace a live person. So his technology is actually really cool. You can actually get capture, and I know we don't do pacing a lot anymore these days, right? But you can actually get capture at half the milliamps of the other competitive monitors out there. It's a really good capture technology. So I'm going to bump my output up to 75, right, or 70, because that's where I want my rate to be. I get capture when it inverts the R wave, right, and my P spike's right before the R wave. So now I know I've got capture, okay? So I've got capture, I can see that, and then I do my mechanical check, right, make sure I got mechanically, not just electrically, right, I've got it mechanically as well. And then let's say this patient, let's see. Let's be a better example here. Let's say the patient's heart rate goes above 70, above the rate of 70 where I want it at. Okay, so the person starts feeling better, right? Their heart takes over. So NSR of 72. It's going to automatically turn off, right? It's going to allow the heart to take over, okay? It's still going to be in demand mode, so still going to be watching the patient. Let's say they drop back down to a 3rd degree block, okay? It'll kick back in, and regain capture. Okay. So demand mode's best because it basically once you get capture, right, you can then focus on other things and just let the monitor handle the patient. Okay. Let's say you're transporting them and one of the leads pops off the patient, one of the limb leads. Okay. Even though the X-Series can't see what's going on anymore, it'll automatically switch to fixed mode. So fixed mode is the only other mode that has in pacing. It'll still keep delivering those milliamps that you have it set at until you pop it back on, right? And then it'll automatically switch back to demand mode, right? And show your capture still. So you don't lose capture if one of the limb leads pop off the patient. It's kind of a cool feature, right? So again, right, I'm going to hit the pacer button, okay? My defaults are going to come up. It's going to start my milliamps off low. Because if I can get capture at 40 milliamps, right, that's so much better for me on a long transport because the patient's not swearing at me. And it's a lot better for the patient, right? Because they're not sitting there twitching, right, hurting the whole way, right? So the lower the milliamps, the better. And you'll know you'll get capture, right, because you'll see that R wave invert. Cool? How are we doing? I've gone over, haven't I?
Okay. Recovering stuff we need to know.
So let me, is there any questions? So far we're good? Okay, let me show you the paper. And then, since you guys aren't doing case push right now, let's leave that off the table for now. I think I've given you kind of the meat of what you guys do. Let me show you a paper change. And then you got the e-learning modules, right, to go back to review. You got me, you can call me, right, at any time. Beth has got my number and email. But again, remember, for a vitals call, which is 75% of your calls, just turning it on, hitting the blood pressure button. 12 lead, I hit the 12, hit the camera with the 12, my patient dialog box pops up, I put in age and gender, go back, hit the camera with the 12, boom, automatically prints off, my 12 leads right on the screen, and then if I want to send it to the hospital, I hit the 12 coming out of the envelope, right? Select my hospital, transmit, done. Cardiac arrest, I turn it on, cut the shirt, no pulse, no breath response, start pumping on the chest, everything pops up. I put on my end-tidal CO2, I hit CO2. Right? So don't make, even though I've given you a ton of information, right, remember it's also very simple as far as put the limb leads on, automatically defaults to lead 2.
What happens if you put on the pads without the puck? Will it? So it would never go into.
Not going to get feedback.
You're not going to get CPR feedback, but you'll still get an EKG. Right? You'll still get an EKG on the screen, and you can still shock. You can still cardiovert. You can still confirm death.
Okay.
We'll be phasing out the old pads. We'll only have the ones with the buck.
Perfect.
So this is the best part of the training right here.
Paper.
So, with your monitors on, okay, you're going to want to come here. If you're right-handed, right, then take your left hand, lift open this black flap right here. This is what actually allows the paper to come up through the top. Our first version, we didn't have a black flap. The paper dumped right into the bag. That was super popular in our first version. Okay, so this is where the paper is. You can see here there's a grip for my hands, right? So it's coming here. I pop that down. Okay. Now the nice thing is when paper gets low, it's just a little white spindle in there. Right now, it's a full roll, right? So I pop this out. Now, whatever your toilet paper preference is, okay, if you put it back in with the paper coming up over the top like this, it's a thermal printer. It's going to print out blanks, okay? And then you got to redo the whole thing. So just remember, this is no, right? Yes. So you want it to come around down on the bottom.
And there's a picture here.
Right? Is there a nice picture in there too? Okay. So what I do is with my new roll, see how there's an opening on that side and that side? And then when you look inside here, right, you can see the little plastic nodule on each side. There's a little plastic rounded nodule on each side in there. Those just snap right on here. The mistake that people make, right, you want to give yourself a little bit of paper, right, extension on there, is they'll start poking their head in here. We're trying to do that, right? So all you need to do, right, is just line it up, those two nodules, and then look up, right, and just do a fill. You'll fill it as you insert it in. You'll fill it. You'll fill those two little nodules, just go right in and sit right in those holes on that spindle. And you'll also know, because it's easy to pull the paper out. It's just nice fluid, right? So then at that point, you're going to come down here. You're going to lift this flap up. It's like a dual click. Boom, boom. Okay, you'll hear a dual click. Drop the black flap. Use the black flap as a straight edge, right, and tear the paper out. And then just take your hand, push in on the bag, and go ahead and hit that toilet paper roll for me. So hit that, and then I'm going to see the paper start coming out here on the top. And I'm just going to take my pinky, and I'm just going to lift it up. I can see that it's printing. I hit the printer roll again. Stops. And done.
I was able to do that no problem. What I had the hard time doing was taking that little piece of paper off and holds everything together and pull it out of the box. Is there, I know it's stupid, but is there a secret to getting that thing off?
You just tear up a little bit higher, and then that way you don't have to peel it out. Were you trying to peel off that little? Yeah. Just go a little bit higher. You just go a little bit higher and tear above, and then that whole thing will just fall off. And then,
yeah, because it's like the Scotch tape, where's the end? Yeah. Would not. So, okay. Cool.
So hopefully that's been helpful. I know it's a lot of information. Sorry I went a little bit over.
No,
I get lost sometimes.
Yes.
I've done this so many times I just get lost and I forget to look at the clock. So hopefully that's been helpful.
What is and what's not compatible with our existing accessories?
Just the end title CO2. Your pads will still work. And your blood pressure cuffs. So if you've got some brand new ones, just let me know, and I've got some stock.
You got some like new ones?
Yeah, I've got brand new ones.
I think we got a set of pediatric, regular adult, and large adult for all these, didn't we? That came in there sitting up. Oh! EP1s.
I have no idea.
They're all sitting upstairs.
You want that?
So that's,
People just receive stuff and don't tell me about it. So.
When these first came in, we put them all together. I thought I
Okay.
I know the
You want to line up the white arrow
Right.
with the white dot.
And we do have relatively new old cars, but
White dot on the end of those.
It's all the other ones.